Hello everyone, welcome back. So now we are reaching to last session. So the last session will be speak by Mithun Nare. So Mithun Nare is a Dynamics 365 Finance and Operations Solution Architect and is a great mentor. Is joining our boot camp. Mithun is passionate about Dynamics 365 Finance and Operation and has been working in Dynamics space since Dynamics 4.0, Dynamics AX 4.0 days. So Mithun will be walking us through innovative approach of Dynamics 365 Finance and Operation workflow approval using the collaboration portal of MS Teams and how helping customer to gain the productivity. So welcome Mithun. How are you?
Hi, Bharat. Thank. I'm good. How about you?
Yeah, good. Thank you.
Thanks.
So
Thanks,
Mithun, over
Bharat.
to you.
Thanks. Sorry, what was that?
Over to you.
Yeah, thanks, Bharat. Thanks, for organizing this great session. I think I would like to thank you, Shabir and Rakesh. I think it's a great event, and I really appreciate the efforts that you guys have put in for the last 2 days. It's not easy, to host the event for continuously for 2 days. So yeah, I really thank you guys.
Thanks. Thank you.
Okay, so let me present my screen here. Let me check if you're able to see my screen.
Yes, we can see your screen.
Okay, hello. So you're able to see my screen, right, Bharat?
Yes, we can
Okay,
see.
perfect.
Thank you.
Hello and welcome all guys to this last session of the boot camp. I'm really very excited to present this topic, which is kind of very innovative in the sense like Dynamics 365 is going to collaborate with with the Microsoft Teams, and it's going to actually help our customer to gain the productivity in the sense, let's say, Teams is kind of a very handy, collaboration platform wherein you can have it on your mobile, and whenever you get these notifications while you're away, you can respond to them, whenever you want to, like whenever you have some time, you can respond to those messages. Similarly, you will receive workflow notifications as well, and you can respond or approve or reject those notifications via Teams. All right, so a brief introduction about myself, guys. I'm Mithun Nare, uh, Dynamics 365 Finance and Operations Solution Architect, and having over 14 years of experience in providing the solutions to in Dynamics AX. Uh, I'm also a Microsoft certified trainer. Uh, Currently, guys, I'm working with TCS since last 2 years as a technical architect. Um, I have vast experience on designing integration solutions, data migration, workflow designs, development and configurations, and also resolving performance issues. Mm, I have worked on almost all the versions of AX, guys. I've been working since 3.0, which was called as DamGuard's Exapta in those days. And then 4.0, 2012, 2009, 2012, R2, R3, and now in Dynamics 365 Finance and Operations. So it is a big journey. It's a big journey, guys. Uh, okay, so I won't take much of your time introducing myself. Let's move on to the main topic. Okay, so today's agenda, guys, I've kept it short and sweet. So first we'll see the flow diagram, and discuss how Power Automate can actually consume the business events, the workflow business events from FNO and get a response from Teams to complete that in finance and operations. Then we'll spend some time building a Power Automate flow. Uh, where we'll actually create a new Power Automate flow and showcase how the business event payload can be parsed and consumed for further actions. Uh, After that, we'll go for a short demo wherein I'll show you how a purchase order can be submitted in FNO, and that workflow once submitted can be approved via Microsoft Teams. And at the end, I will take some questions from you guys if you have any, and on the business events and the flow that I'll be showing you. Okay, so this is the agenda. Let's move on to the next slide, which is about this flow diagram. So I have three boxes here. First one is finance and operations, second Power Automate, and the third one is for uh, Outlook and Teams. So whenever a workflow is submitted in finance and operations, a work item gets created, right? We get a work item created, and the application fires a business event. As soon as the application fires a business event, a Power Automate triggers, and payload is transferred from finance and operations to in Power Automate, where you will get all those parameter values like work item ID, user IDs, a list of all the outcomes like approve, reject, or reassign the workflow, and cancel the workflow. So all you can, there are a lot of values or maybe the data that you can receive here in this payload. You can also customize that the contract class of this business event to get some more information when you need it. So once that payload is parsed, I think we need to execute that, right? Or maybe validate that particular action. So once this is done, we can actually validate the workflow instance ID, which we get from the payload. So let's say, the workflow once submitted by the user, maybe he could actually recall it at, the next a minute, right? Or let's say if he says, he feels that the purchase order is not valid, or maybe this is the wrong purchase order that I submitted, he'll recall that workflow, and that where this flow will say, the workflow instance ID is not valid, and it will fail, and then send out a notification to the user, to the workflow user, saying, you have a potential work item in the FNO. So you can just go and check it on the application. Let's say if the instance ID is valid, maybe it's kind of still alive. It'll go and create a new Power Automate flow, right? And wait for the response. So this is just kind of a security step, to check if the workflow instance ID is valid. If it is valid, it will start an approval, wait for the response, and that a response it's going to get that response from Teams, or maybe an Outlook email. Maybe the customer, or sorry, the approver actually approves it or rejects it. Once he gets that, once the response is received here, Power Automate will call finance and operations to complete that particular flow. So this is the complete flow of how this will work. So it will start from finance and operations, the data will traverse to Power Automate. Power Automate will actually send a notification, like send a the action to Teams, and then receive those response from Teams, and then complete it in the finance and operations. So in the next slide, I'm just going to go over business events. I know most of us actually know about what business events are, but whoever doesn't know, or maybe just wanted to get a quick overview on the business events, I'll just quickly go over it. So what are business events? So business events is kind of a mechanism that lets external system to receive the notifications from finance and operations. So whenever a business event is triggered, the external systems get the payload, and that it's being sent from as a notification from finance and operations. So all the data is being parsed to the other system. So business events are supposed to be lightweight and should be nimble, and it is not intended to export a large amount of data. It should be very light. Um, Then where are these events, right? All these events are actually listed in the business event catalog. This catalog is actually built based on the database synchronization and deployment that we do. You can also get all the out of the box. If you're missing any out of the box events, the business events in this catalog, you can just refresh that. I mean, there's an option to rebuild the catalog again. So that can also be done. Then there are endpoints which are actually very important, basically to communicate with the external system, and these endpoints are actually created uh, to parse the payload. So through these endpoints, we can communicate to the external with the external systems. And any errors during this processing of the business event, those can be checked in the logs. That is also available in the same form. In the, there's a tab of called as errors. You can just go and look at those errors, and then those can be resubmitted again. I mean, once they are fixed. So this is a brief overview of what business events are, and what are they intended to do. In the next slide, this is about building a flow, right? So we'll start from here. We'll start building a flow in Power Automate. So we'll step by step go on creating each step, right? So you have to sign into Power Automate portal, and by default you'll get an default environment, and you can actually create your flow in that default environment, or if you want to create your own, you can do that. I have created my own environment called as ms_teams, right? And then what I've done is just click on this create option here. You will get all the list of connectors, that you will need to select one of them. You can select a finance and operation as your connector, because you're going to connect to finance and operations here. As soon as you do that, you will get an option to trigger an event. So when a business event occurs, so we can just click on this particular option here, and we can go to the next slide. You will get this small window once you select that option there. And you can select your instance where you have actually configured your workflow and want the approval process to work. Once you've selected the instance, the workflow work item category should be selected. So you'll find different categories in here. You can select the workflow work item, because we're going to parse the work item here, right? You can select the business event, since we are will be showcasing purchase order workflow. So I've actually selected the approved purchase order event. Then there's a legal entity that we need to select. You can select the legal entity when where you have want this workflow to work. There's one important thing that, guys, I want to let you know, which I also faced. No, kind of that was an issue that I faced. Your Power Automate and finance and operation and teams should be in the same domain. Otherwise, I faced this issue wherein we cannot get these drop down values, right? So it does not find any instance there. In that case, what you need to check is you just need to go onto these this three dots. You just click on these three dots on your right hand side corner, and you can check your connections, right? So how this connection is built, which domain it is on, right? And if it's not incorrect, you can just add your new connection here, and then you're all set, right? So basically, the bottom line is you should be getting all these instances, in the drop down list. And once you've done that, click on new step, which will actually take you to choose an operation. While choosing an operation, you can so just type in as a keyword as parse, and then you will get an operation called as parse JSON. Select that, because we need to parse that payload, right? It will be a JSON file, so we need to parse that JSON file. So you need to select this parse JSON. Once you select that, I have this window here, so don't be confused, guys. I have two screenshots from screenshots from two applications. This is Power Automate and this is FNO. So once you select the parse JSON, you will get this particular window here. And in the content, you can select the body. This body is nothing but whatever we've created in the earlier step. So we get that body here, and then for schema, you need to go back to finance and operations, right? And navigate to the business event catalog. So this is the business event catalog form that I was explaining about in the earlier slides. So you need to find your own business event. That is for us it is a purchase order workflow, a workflow work item, and you just need to download the schema from here. Right, there is an option to download the schema, which will download a text file. So open it in a notepad and you can just copy the whole content of that particular notepad and copy and paste it here, right? So you can paste it here, and next thing that you need to do is save it. Once you save it, it'll give you a notification that the flow has been successfully saved and you're ready to go, right? As soon as you get that message, a business event endpoint, right, should be automatically created here. Okay, so it should be automatically created, and you need to check if it's that no that's for your flow, right? So there could be multiple Power Automate endpoints, but you need to check if it is relevant or not for your flow. Once you are done with this, I think half of your task is done. I think you've built the connection between FNO and Power Automate. The next thing is that you can just go and now since you've got the JSON, right, the schema here, you can click on the next step, new step here. This new step will actually give you an option to choose an operation. So now since we've got the JSON, then we need to execute that, right? So just type in execute action, and find an option wherein you have finance and operations as that. So you can select that option, and again, once you select that option, you need to again connect to that instance where we want this flow to work, right? So again, the same instance, you can select the same instance that you've selected earlier, and then we need to select the action here. So this will be a validate action, and then you can just select the workflow work item instance ID, because we are going to validate this workflow work item instance ID, which we will be getting from the payload. We'll be passing that to FNO and checking if that is alive or not, right? So for this, we are going to create this step. Then the next thing is, again, need to create a new step here, and then that will actually again give you an option to choose an operation wherein you will have to add a condition control, right? So condition control is nothing but the value that you get, from FNO, that workflow instance ID. If it is valid, it's true, you have to check if it is true or not. And if it is not true, right? If it is no, I need to add in another action, which will, give you an option to send an email to the approver saying that okay, there is potential work item which is pending for you in the FNO, right? So you can send out an email to him. You will get this workflow user email from the dynamic content from the payload that we've got, and you can just have your own subject or body, or whatever you want to select it as. Let's say if it's valid, right? If it's true, we need to actually add an action here for if it is yes. Then you can type in as start and wait. So start and wait for an approval. So this will actually, uh, have create a start and approval process, wait for an approval process, wherein you will again get this particular screen. You can select the approval type, which is there are a lot of different. There are four to five kinds of different approval types. I'll show you in the next in the demo session. So I have selected your first to respond. So you will get the title. You need to add a title here. So I've added workflow work item subject, and then where whom it should be assigned to. So it should be user email, workflow user email, and then the details that we need to add in here. So I've added the document type, workflow document type, instructions, workflow step instructions, and the template name. I've also added a link to that web. Okay, so you will also get a link to FNO in your, so you can just click on that link and you will be navigated to FNO. You can add an action, right? Click on action and then whatever you can select apply to each. You need to select an operation again here, apply to each. So whatever outcome that we get, right? So we get the response from teams. So let's say it could be approve, reject, reassign, or cancel the workflow. So that response is captured here, right? Once that response is captured here, we need to get add an action. Again, adding an action means now execute that action in finance and operation. So once you click on that, you will again have to select the instance that you've selected earlier. And this time the action will be to complete, right? So it will be workflow work items complete, which will call FNO and complete the workflow. Right, so in this we are actually passing the instance ID, so that particular workflow instance only should be completed, and the outcome if it is approved, reject, or reassign or whatever. And then we are capturing the comments here, so approver response, response approver name, or the what is the approver response if it is approved or rejected. Once you've done this, I think we are all done. I think you just need to save it, and it'll say that your flow is ready to go, and we recommend to test it. So this is the screen I think you will get when you start your flow, when your workflow is submitted. Then there will be a record created here. A Power Automate will trigger a flow here, and you will see a record here which is saying that it is running and waiting for the approval, right? You can just click on these and check the status of where your flow is. In case if it is failed, you need to check that why did it fail, right? Uh, if it is failed on the Power Automate side for any kind of connection issues or anything, you can again resubmit it from here, right? You don't need to again resubmit the workflow in FNO, because FNO part is done. It has already created a work item. It's pending here, and it has failed. So you can again resubmit it from here, and then should be done, right? Okay, so let's go for a demo, guys, quickly, and I'll share. Let me know if you are able to see my FNO screen. Let me see. Okay, so let me know, guys, if you are able to see my FNO screen.
Yes, Mithun.
Okay, perfect. All right, so we'll just create a simple purchase order. I have done I've already done the configuration in the workflow configuration for purchase orders, wherein I am the user who is going to submit it, and since we don't have anyone to approve it, I have actually added myself as an approver. So I am only the one who's going to submit the workflow and approve it. Okay. So let's create a simple purchase order. Okay, so create new. Select the vendor. All right, then I'll select this item here. Select all the mandatory fields like site and then the warehouse. Okay, I'm done. Okay, so I'll save this and okay, I'll submit the workflow. So let's say please approve, submit. All right, then let's check the workflow history. So it should be triggered and we'll wait for the approval process to start. As soon as the work item is created here, you will see a record here. You will see a record here. So let's see where it is now. It's still running. Let's give it a minute or so. Okay, it started. Okay. All right, so this is a work item which got created, right? So let's see here in Power Automate if there should be a record created. Yeah, see, this is actually now running, and then I'll get a notification in Teams. So you'll see it's just validating the workflow, the work item here. As executing that condition. So waiting for approval. So you see here, I got one notification here in Teams. So if you see this particular purchase order 253, that's what we were actually looking for, right? This is a purchase order, and we get this kind of approval notification in Teams. You can add whatever details like you want to, and then if the approver wants to reject it or approve it, or there are more actions. Like I said, you can cancel the request, you can reassign the workflow from here. And so let's say I am approving it right now. Okay, I'll say okay, approved. And once I approve it, since this is a single level workflow, it's just going to get completed. And since I have initiated it, I will also get a notification that your workflow which you initiated is the final status of it is approved. So and it also gives you that kind of information here, right? So your workflow is finally approved. If you go back here to in the Power Automate, now if I just check, it's your workflow has ran successfully, right? So it's completed. And then let's go back in FNO and see if it's approved here or not, right? So if you see here the assigned to user and the approve action taken, so only thing is that you will get once it is approved externally, you will get an external work item completion response, right? So this workflow is approved. You will get the same, since now it is in review status. The status should also change as saying that it is approved. Yeah, see. So this is how you can approve your workflows through Teams. So just let's quickly go through this. Like I went through it in the slide. So you can just I'll show you, the same thing here. Like we need to select the instances from here. You can just click on these options here, and there are a lot of options that available for this particular instance. And then uh, you need to sorry, let's select this, and then you need to select this approval, which approval. So there are, so these are all the events that are in the business event catalog, right? So these are all out of the box events. You can create your own event, customize those, or whatever you want to do, right? And then the legal entity that you would like to configure this in. And the next step that like I said, you can select the content which automatically comes here. Basically, this is not nothing but the body that you've actually created in the earlier step. And then the schema that we copy from the business event catalog, right? Uh, and then this is about the validating the workflow work item, right? The instance ID is validated, and then the based on the condition, if it is true or false, you can send an email to the approver. And if it is kind of a valid this thing, and then you can just select. So see, as soon as I click on this, you will get these dynamic the parameters here, or the values here that you want to put in here, right? So in our case, it is workflow work item subject for the title, and then this is the workflow work item workflow user email, sorry. And then you can set up all these details that you want for the approver to review, link to that particular web, and then you know the responses that will be captured from Teams. Once the response is captured, you can execute the action for on those response, and which will send back to FNO for the completion. So this is how the whole flow gets complete, right? Yep. So guys, if you have any questions or any doubts, you can ask me. And
Thank you, Mithun. Thank you for sharing your learnings. Indeed, it's a great learning for me, and I'm confident that our attendees also must have learned from this session.
mhm,
So I can see there are some questions in the chat window. I'll read those questions one by one.
mhm.
So the question from Ashish is that how long can the workflow wait for approval? Is there a time limit after which it is stopped?
No, I think there's no time limit as such as of now. And I've not explored it, maybe, but I have not seen that time limit that we can keep there to, if we can approve it automatically, if if within the given time limit, if it is not approved or not. We need to maybe create another trigger for that, maybe, right? Another step that we can create in Power Automate to see if it is not completed, maybe in a specified period, then auto complete it, right? So we can explore that. I mean, there should be a step wherein you can do that, right? Because this is just a simple flow, but I'm sure you have that option to do that.
Yeah, thanks. Another question that we have from Vistespa.
Mhm.
Is the message subject and the message body will be picked from the email template and workflow
Yes.
body? Yes.
Yes, it is actually picked from there. I mean, all those artifacts, like the parameters that we pass, are those from the workflow configuration that we do, right? That's already specified in the workflow configuration.
Yeah. One question that I have, it's related to escalation in the workflow if the workflow is not approved on time. So will it also follow the same pattern that the action will be created in the teams for approval? If the workflow work item is escalated.
Mhm.
So will the action be created in the
Yeah, yeah.
Teams?
There will be another action created. There will be another. So whenever a work item is created, so when you say an escalation, right? So there is another work item which gets created for that. And as soon as a work item gets created, there is an event which triggers, right? And the Power Automate actually gets another record there, and then it can be again approved through via Teams.
Okay. I can see another question from Vikas Vaishya. Do we
Mhm.
need to create a separate workflow for each legal entity? And can we
Yes.
copy it from one legal entity to another?
Yeah, we can do that copy. That copy is allowed, right? We can just copy it and create a new flow, but of this particular workflow is actually the event that we are creating is per legal entity. So you'll have to create another flow for every legal entity that you want it for to work for.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Uh, Thank you, Mithun, for sharing your knowledge on the innovative approach of Dynamics 365 Finance and Operation Workflow Approval using Microsoft Teams. So, as we all know that Microsoft Teams is the most common tool used by a customer for collaboration purpose, and it's a very user friendly. So,
Mhm.
by integrating Dynamics 365 Finance and Operation Workflow Approval actions in the Teams, definitely the customer will be more productive because all the information will be handy with them for their
Mhm.
actions,
Yeah,
right? So it's
definitely.
pleasure that you are being with us. Thank you, Mithun.
No problem. Thanks, Bharat. Thanks, guys.